Growing up, I used to think there was nothing in the world more permanent than family. You're born into it, shaped by it, and tethered to it whether you like it or not. For the longest time, that belief came down to one person, Marlene, my older sister. She wasn't perfect, far from it, but she was always there. She was the kind of person who'd mess up bad, disappoint you, and then somehow make you feel guilty for ever doubting her. But she was also the one who braided my hair when I was 10, lied to Mom when I snuck out in high school, and sent me $200 when I was short on rent in college, no questions asked. So when she showed up on my doorstep last October, suitcase in hand, and that tired smile she always wore when life had kicked her around again, I didn't hesitate. I let her in. I made up the guest room. I told my husband it was temporary. "She just needs time," I said, brushing off the look he gave me. "Doesn't she always?" he asked. I didn't respond, because yes, she did, and I always gave it to her. At first, it was almost nostalgic. Having Marlene around reminded me of our childhood. Late-night talks in the kitchen, inside jokes about our mother, watching bad TV with a glass of wine. She still left dishes in the sink and never put the cap back on the toothpaste. But I could live with that. What I couldn't live with was the silence. The way she never talked about where she'd come from this time. The way she flinched when her phone rang and always stepped outside to take the calls. She claimed it was just a work thing, even though I didn't recall her ever saying what work she did now. And then there were the papers. One afternoon, while she was out getting groceries, I went into the guest room to change the sheets. The closet was slightly open. Inside, I found a folder tucked behind her bag. It wasn't locked or hidden very well, which is what made it worse. It was as if she didn't care whether I found it or not. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside were copies of documents, a birth certificate, a social security card, both under a different name, Lena Hartwell. There were also printouts of emails, travel records, and most disturbingly, a photo of Marlene sitting in a cafe in Denver with a woman who looked just like me. Same dark hair, same eyes. But it wasn't me. I had never been to Denver. I had no idea who that woman was. When she came home that night, I didn't say anything. I wanted to. My tongue was burning with questions. But I just watched her, the way she avoided eye contact, the way her shoulders tensed when she realized the guest room door was ajar. That night I barely slept. Who was she really? Why was she using a different name? And who the hell was that woman in the photo? The next morning I pretended to forget something and stayed home from work. After she left the house, I followed her. It felt wrong. It felt insane, but I did it anyway. She took a bus downtown, walked 4 blocks, entered a plain brick building with no signage. I waited across the street for almost 2 hours. And then she came out, not alone. She was with a man. Older, maybe late 40s, with a beard and a jacket too formal for the weather. They didn't hold hands, but they walked close, too close. And when they reached the corner, he turned and kissed her on the cheek like they were more than just acquaintances. I ducked behind a parked car. My chest was pounding, not from jealousy, from confusion, from fear. I waited until they parted ways, then went back home before she could return. That night, when she stepped through the door, something in me broke. "You're not telling me everything," I said quietly, standing in the kitchen, gripping the counter. She froze. Her keys hung in her hand. "What are you talking about?" "The name Lena Hartwell, the man you met today, the documents in your bag. I saw them." Silence. I thought she would lash out, scream, deny. But she didn't. Instead, she looked tired, sad almost. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said. "No," I snapped. "I wasn't, but I did, so tell me. Who are you really?" She looked at me for a long time. Then she said something that knocked the air out of my lungs. "I'm not your sister." I stood in the middle of the kitchen, barely breathing. "What do you mean you're not my sister?" She didn't flinch, didn't smile. She just pulled out a chair, sat down, and stared at the tiled floor like it held the answers. "My real name is Lena Hartwell," she said slowly. "Marlene died when you were 7. My mouth went dry. I wanted to laugh, to scream, to grab her by the shoulders and shake her, but I couldn't move. Her words were a sharp, slow knife cutting through 29 years of memory. "No," I said, my voice trembling. "That's not possible. We grew up together. You were there. You taught me how to ride a bike. She raised her eyes to meet mine. "I know. I was there, but I wasn't Marlene." I stumbled back a step, gripping the edge of the counter for balance. "Then who were you?" "I was in the system," she said. "Foster care, group homes. I ran away when I was 15. I met a woman who took me in for a while. Kind of a con artist, really. She taught me how to disappear, how to become whoever I needed to be. When I read about your family in a small-town paper, the obituary for your mother, I saw a photo. You were in it." My hands were cold, numb. "So you decided to pretend to be my dead sister?" She had no surviving records, no fingerprints in the system, no dental files. No one was looking anymore. You were living alone by then. College, right? I nodded, barely. "I needed a way out, a fresh start. And you looked lonely." I turned away from her. I didn't want to cry. I didn't want her to see how deeply she'd cut me. "But I was your sister," she said, softer. "Maybe not by blood, but I was there for you when no one else was." "That's not the same," I said through clenched teeth. Silence stretched between us, thick and painful. "I never planned to stay," she said. "It was supposed to be temporary, a few months, a place to hide, but you made me feel like I belonged. I wanted to scream that she didn't, that everything she built with me was a lie, but the worst part was, it didn't feel like a lie. That was the part that made me sick to my stomach. Every memory I had, every Christmas, every late-night phone call, every inside joke, it was all fake, but it didn't feel fake. That night, I didn't sleep in my bed. I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to connect the dots. I remembered how Marlene had changed after our mother died, how she suddenly became more cautious, less impulsive, how she started keeping a journal and making to-do lists like she was building herself from scratch. I'd chalked it up to grief, but maybe that's when she arrived. The next morning, I opened the guest room door and found it empty. Her suitcase was gone. So were the papers. No note, no goodbye. Just the faint scent of perfume still lingering in the air. I thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. A week later, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper, handwritten. "I'm sorry, I truly am. But for what it's worth, the love I had for you wasn't fake. Not a single moment of it." There was no signature. Just a folded photo, one I didn't recognize. It was of us, me and her, standing outside a diner, both laughing, mid-conversation. Someone must have taken it from across the street, probably with a phone. I didn't even remember that moment happening. But she did. And she'd kept it. I returned home from work a few days later, my mind still heavy from it all. I opened the front door, still half lost in thought, and stepped inside. The house felt different, quieter. Or maybe I was just more aware of the silence now. I placed my keys on the table and glanced toward the guest room, empty again like she'd never been there. But something was off. The window in the living room was slightly cracked open. I never left it that way. I walked over, checking the lock. It wasn't broken, just unlatched from the inside. A chill ran through me. Was she here again? "Lena?" I called out, my voice cautious, low. Nothing. I searched the rooms one by one. Everything was in place. No signs of anyone. No more letters, no photos. Just the same dull ache that had made itself at home in my chest. Over the next few days, I kept thinking I saw her. A flash of her red hair outside a store. Someone with her posture on a park bench. But every time I got closer, it wasn't her. I started wondering if maybe I wanted her to come back. Not to explain herself, but just to exist in my life again. That was the hardest part. She had built a place in my world, and now, even knowing it was all based on a lie, I still missed her. I spent hours rereading old messages, going through photos, watching old home videos. But something had changed. I saw it now. The tiny hesitations in her stories, the gaps in memory she used to blame on being too young to remember. The way she sometimes asked me to remind her of our childhood, like she wanted to learn it through me. I never noticed then. I just thought trauma did that to people. One evening, I found myself driving past the diner from the photo she sent. It was still open. Same faded neon lights, same rusted metal awning. I parked across the street and sat there, engine off, staring through the windshield. That photo. The angle. It must have been taken from here. I rolled down the window and listened. Plates clinking, laughter, someone arguing about football. Life going on, unaware of the twisted web unraveling in my head. And then I saw her, walking down the sidewalk. Hair tied up, sunglasses, hands in her coat pockets. My heart leapt into my throat. I didn't move. I just watched as she passed by, not looking around, not even noticing me. I could have called her name. I could have stepped out of the car and demanded answers, but I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to keep the illusion intact just a little longer. Maybe I was afraid of what else I'd learn. A week later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out. No voicemail. A minute later, a text appeared. "I'll always be grateful for the life you gave me. I promise I'll never hurt you. But it's better this way." That was the last time I heard from her. Months passed. I tried to move on. I poured myself into work. I spent more time with friends, reconnected with family. But a piece of me still felt missing. Not just because I lost her, but because I didn't know who I had lost. Lena. Marlene. The woman who'd shared my roof, my memories, my life. Who was she really? I'll never fully know. But I do know this. She wasn't my sister by blood. She wasn't even supposed to be in my life. But for over a decade, she was my family. And maybe the scariest part isn't that she lied. It's that some part of me still loves her anyway.
Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more interesting content coming soon.